Hey, greetings, District 33 and family. And we have members from all around the world. It's pretty exciting. It's actually 10 o'clock in the morning over yonder. Isn't that right, Vivian?
That is right. Sending love from Philippines.
That's it. Saying love from Philippines. Como esta? We love it. We love it. We love it. Well, my name is Joseph Stephen Skoda III, the Media Past District Director. And Clarice will only let me hold that for like 25 more days. Oh my goodness, you know how hard it was to get here? And now you're telling me I have to leave? Oh, it's so crazy, it's so crazy. Well, a year ago, we started this series, Get More Out of Toastmasters. Get more out of Toastmasters. Many of us have been club members for many years. Many of us held several club officer positions, and some of us have been district leaders. And then sometimes we fall off and we have to get remotivated, or often we're voluntold to sign up again. You know where I'm going with this. Been there, done that. Let's bring someone else into the fold, into the mix. Totally understand that. So the whole idea this year was to get people motivated. Like, yeah, I can do that. I can talk better. I can lead better. I have better ideas. The whole idea is to get people interested in doing that. And I think we did pretty good this year. There's always room for improvement, but I've had a lot of people come to me and say, yeah, I could be an area director this year. Why not? We forget that we're all mentors. Most of us have, like I said, been there for a while. So we're all mentors, and we can bring up people and share a little bit what we learned. Now, the title of my speech, you can see from IPDD to Junior Vice. Junior Vice Commander, that is with the Disabled American Veterans. Now, Junior is lesser than immediate past anything, or Director or Commander, anything. It's Junior. So I reached the top, at least at the district level, and I had to step back and take maybe a lesser role somewhere else so I could have even greater dividends, even better rewards in the future. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about how I got to where I am today and why I love what I'm doing right here. Elizabeth's online also, and that's pretty exciting. I have a lot of people that have only been members a couple years and say, yeah, I want more out of leadership. Now, I joined in 2013. Anyone remember that far back? 2013? It seemed like anything pre-COVID we just forgot about. Forgot how to be kind to one another, forgot how to greet one another. We forgot all those things. But 2013, so it's only been 9 years that I have been a Toastmaster. And I got in because I started a new business prior to that. And it was a network marketing, direct sales, real good business. I love what I was doing. And I joined this business seminar or this meet and greet at a coffee shop. I go to this coffee shop probably a couple times where people, everyone around has 30 seconds to give their 30 or maybe 60-second elevator pitch. And then if you were picked the next week, you can give a 10-minute spiel on what you're all about. It didn't take me 10 minutes. It took me that 60-second elevator pitch where someone grabbed me by the sleeve and said, why don't you come breakfast with me tomorrow morning? Like, great, I love breakfast, right? Let's do it. Of course, it was 7 o'clock in the morning, as we all know, a Toastmasters meeting. I think he bought me coffee. I don't even think I had a whole breakfast. He bought me some coffee. And I thought, great, I could join another organization and pitch my gig, pitch my business, right? A win-win, how can I lose? It didn't work out that way. The more I pitched, the more people pushed away and pushed back and tried to get me involved with other things. Have you ever been a Toastmaster for a long period of time and didn't quite take it seriously? Well, that was me. It took me about 8 or 9 months to figure out this is a real thing. Toastmasters are real people. They were all kind to me, all lovingly and all supportive. Probably the most important thing that we do in our organization is that we're supportive of one another. We may not like them. We may not like what they're pitching. We may not like where we're coming from, but we are supportive and helping people just get a little bit better. Now, I was really interested in that. The year later, about 3 months after I took Toastmasters seriously, someone told me I needed to be a VPE. VP, I didn't do Sergeant Arms or Secretary of Treasurer. Went right to number 2 in the club. VP, Vice President of Education. Okay, we have manuals, I understood that, but I had no clue how to input things and how to submit things to headquarters, like a lot of us don't. And after I signed up for VPE, 1 month later, our president not just quit being a president, he quit the club. Boom, I got pushed to be president of that club. Now, those kind of things happen in real life. What I realized is if you're prepared, you learn a way to be ready for those transitions in life and prepare yourself. You can be thrown anywhere and it really doesn't matter. Well, became president as distinguished that year as a president. A fantastic job. I've been president 3 times. President's distinguished, president's distinguished, president's distinguished. Of course, I'm a president of a club now, and I will be distinguished at least, because I don't know any other way. I grew up in the great state of Ohio. There was no second place or third place. You always did your best. You always tried to learn whatever we're doing. Now, we're all Toastmasters. I don't have to tell you anything like that, but Junior Vice Commander is of the Disabled American Veterans. Many of you know I'm an Air Force veteran, did 21 years in the Air Force, as well as the lovely Vanessa. She also did 21 years. And we're involved in a lot of organizations outside of Toastmasters. I think where we fail to see the value is how Toastmasters helps us become better in our other nonprofits, our businesses, our jobs, our relationships. And trying to figure out why that is. What can we do differently that make everything run really smooth in our lives, make our transitions just a little bit better? And that's what I want to share a little bit. I need to share a little bit about where I'm coming from to where I'm going. Now, I grew up in Ohio, like I said, and I was a wrestler. I wrestled for 5 or 6 years through my middle school and high school years, and ended up getting a scholarship to Ohio State for wrestling, right? I didn't know how to speak. I knew how to wrestle, beat up on people, get beat up myself. I knew how to ramble and get a little rough out there. I didn't care about speaking, but then I joined the Air Force and gave up wrestling and did a lot of other things. And believe it or not, it took me 12 years to get my first associate's degree. 12 years to get my 2-year degree. I wasn't going anywhere fast by any means. And you know why? I needed only 1 more class for at least the last 4 years of that 12 years, and that was speech. Speech club, speech class. So I tried to clip out of it or Dante's test out of it, which is where you take a written exam and then you speak it to a tape recorder. And someone who knows where evaluates everything. Now, being in the military, those tests were free. It usually cost about $100 somewhere else, but I tried it. The first time I did a written exam and I talked to a tape recorder in an empty room. I passed the written exam, failed the speech. I tried it again 6 months later, maybe a year later, written exam, passed it. This time I spoke in a room with someone in there, but hopefully I would have done a better job. Failed again. 2 times failed the easy shortcut to get out of speaking in public. And what was so exciting about that, when I eventually took the class, I got an A. I got an A in speech. Doesn't mean I was a good speaker, but it gave me a little bit of confidence there. Sometimes we look for shortcuts in life to propel us to different levels that we're really not ready for. You ever try to take a shortcut, it didn't work out for you? Maybe driving down the street, happens to be construction down that road, whatever it may be. That happens in everyday life. At least for me, I've always wanted to take shortcuts to get to where I was going. It did not always work so well. But thanks to Toastmasters later on and understanding where I should have been, not taking those shortcuts, but actually learning, not wasting those 9 months in my first club before I took it seriously. What's a CC, a competent communicator? Who cares? Well, we should all care. And we should all do it over and over and over again, almost as many times as Chuck Cooper's done. Over and over again, because those things are important. That's part of our transition to the next level. And that's what I'm trying to say is too many of us, okay, I'm a club officer, do it again. Or they stay at Sergeant Arms for 10 years and never go anywhere. And we all know members like that. Maybe some of us are like that. Okay, I'm happy being secretary and finance officer for 5 or 6 years. I am too. But guess what? We're not growing and we're not helping someone else grow. And last year was all about developing leaders one at a time, and I still very strongly believe in that. But we hold on the reins for too long. We're kind of stagnant, and people can't get in. Well, let me tell you a little bit about after I become President's Distinguished. We had an area director come visit our club. I thought, wow, I never even met her before or heard of her. But I was just excited because he would ask a few questions, give a quick 5-minute speech. And I just thought, wow, I want your job. What are you doing? And I went and says, how can I do what you're doing? I asked her, how can I become an area director? You know what she told me? I got someone else in mind, maybe some other time. I got someone else I want to talk to. You're not ready. She brushed me off. Here I am, but a Toastmaster 2.5 years, begging to be an area director. What was I thinking, right? Begged, and she kept brushing me off. And probably 1 month to the deadline, probably in May of that year, she says, okay, I changed my mind. Still want to be area director? I didn't realize that other people turned her down. I didn't realize that she didn't have a connection with someone else. I didn't realize I was probably number 5 on the list that she called. But she said, yeah, I think you can do it. You know that little pep talk, yeah, I think you can do it, how that makes you feel inside? And not to say, yeah, you'll do, or sure, try it. But I think it was, yeah, I think you'll do good. Yeah, I think you can do it. That just got things spinning inside of me. And that makes me feel really good when people talk that way. And these different transitions from a club officer to area director was just a new transition to something else. Sure, I was still a club officer, not BPE. I was probably treasurer back then or some other role, not really sure. And when I did my visits for area director, I've had one club come to me and says, hey, will you be our president? I wasn't even a member of that club. And they asked me to be their president. You know how exciting that is? I was doing something right. Maybe a smile on my face, maybe telling everyone else they can do it, maybe just showing up and asking those questions, not telling them what to do. And I says, I don't know. What about the rest of your officers? How are they going to feel? There's other people more qualified, members of your club. And I called every officer in that club, the 6 of them, and I had lunch with the current president. He's the one who called me and said, we take over my job. And they all said, we'd love to have you. You'll do just fine. Number 2, President's Distinguished under my watch. That was a real exciting, fun time for me. And out of that particular club, after me, I brought 5 area directors up after me out of that club. That touches you. That tells you you're doing something right, or that's telling them they could do a lot better. Whatever it is, you're growing people. You're telling them you can do it. You have what it takes. So I did that. You'd think everything would go smoothly after that. I have my beautiful area badge here from a couple of years ago, and that was great. I figured, what's the next step? Right, they call it division director. I was Division E director, which went from Carpinteria, Santa Barbara area, all the way to Paso Robles in San Luis Obispo. And we had 30 clubs that particular year. But before I got to division director was my first I don't know, you could say gut punch. Because I went for division director and out of the blue, someone ran against me. I didn't see that coming. I wasn't elected. I lost by 6 votes. I'll never forget those 6 votes. I lost the job of becoming division director. I just helped 2 clubs become presidents distinguished. I did a great job as area director, and I lost the division director. I got held back a little bit hurt. Of course I was hurt. I just thought things were going on. I told you, I never seen 2nd or 3rd place in my life. Except when it came to promotions in the Air Force, I was 5th or 10th place. It'd be forever to get promoted. But I lost. And that's when I started reevaluating, why am I a Toastmaster anyways? Does it matter? Does anyone really care? I'm going to transition a little bit here because 3 weeks ago from yesterday, I gave a 3-hour presentation in person in Palm Springs, a little warm in Palm Springs. And this was our Department of California Disabled American Veterans conference, or actually our convention, our annual convention. And they were testing me because I got elected 3 years ago to be the junior vice commander for disabled American veterans. And then, as we know, we had this thing called COVID hit, and for the DAV, they just froze everyone in place. They froze everyone in place. And I'll get more a little bit about what I talked about as this goes on. I couldn't talk for I couldn't talk for an hour just a couple years ago. And now I talk for an hour, 2, 3, 4 hours any given time. And you know how we can do that? Because when we transition, we make sure we're prepared for the unexpected. And that's what Table Topic is all about, of course. We know that. Anyways, getting back to my division director year, a year after I thought I should have been division director, I visited all 30 clubs personally. This is before hybrids and Zoom. I went to every club in person. 2, I had to go visit twice because they changed the time or canceled a meeting and I didn't call ahead to find out they weren't open. You ever drive 2 hours away and go to a meeting or want to surprise everyone and no one's there? Yeah, that was me. That was me. I think I visited Tom Phelps Club one time when they weren't there. Absolutely, that was me. So part of our preparation should always be to call ahead or double check our facts and figures to make sure everyone's ready to go. But since I was an area director on up, I always went to our district conventions. Anyone here been to a district convention outside of hybrid? Best times of my life. And we know 4 or 5 years ago, we part of Las Vegas. It's really great to go Las Vegas, as well as other places to our district. It's wonderful, but that's when I got the fever. You get to meet people kind of where you're at. You get to meet people who been there, done that. I got to meet other veterans. I got to meet doctors and lawyers and plumbers and homeowners and pilots and everyone else in our organization. And here I'm trying to figure out, why do I want to be a Toastmaster? What's it got in it? What's in it for me? And there's something in it for all of us, as we all can see. And that's why we're here today. We need to ask ourselves seriously, why are we in it and why are we still in it and what do we expect to get out of it if we want to get further in our lives? You know, just recently I got asked to speak at our city council meetings. We have a veterans building, and quite frankly, the city wanted to take our parking away and close the street and make the park bigger. But you don't need this parking. We want to make the park bigger for the community. Most of our veterans have a handicap, have a disability, are a little bit up there in age, and they have trouble getting into our building now. They elected me to be the spokesperson. I've been to several city council meetings this year. And finally, everyone listened to me and they rewrote the plans. Are they closing off a portion of it? Sure, but not the whole thing. but it was having the confidence to get out there and say, you can't do that. You can't just take things away from us because you want to do it. And that's so important that we learn those particular skills. You know, one issue we have in Toastmasters is we don't always seek out, sure, we'll seek out someone to take our place, but are we seeking out leaders? Maybe we're division director, we want to find the next division director, but we're seeking out leaders in our clubs that could be the next VP or president or international director. Are we looking for those? Sometimes we don't, because we're a little stuck in ourselves. So we need to work on that just a little bit better. Now going back to, now I'm going back and forth because this has a lot to do with the veterans organization I'm involved with. I was commander of the American Legion, commander of the Disabled American Veterans, started my own nonprofit called GI Connections. You kind of see a pattern here. It's all about the veterans. And if it wasn't for this organization to help me develop the confidence and how to shut up and listen more, I wouldn't have failed as a leader in those other organizations. About 3 years ago, the DAV, we had our convention in Reno, Nevada. And I was asked to give a speech, okay, by the CEO of the company. He said, I'd like you to give some leadership training or something. I said, sure, I'm a Toastmaster. Toastmaster, what, 4 years back then, 5 years back then? I knew it all. I could talk about anything. And I thought I had about, I don't know, 30 or 40 minutes because that was my understanding. Well, there was 2 of us speakers and we had an hour for both of us to talk. I said, well, you go first. And when you're done, we'll just split it. He gave me 15 minutes. And I prepared for weeks and months for that event. You ever over prepare and then it was like discarded, didn't mean anything? That hurts also. Spoke around 15 or 20 minutes in front of 400 people. I had about 30 slides, I was ready to go. You can't go through 30 slides in 15 minutes, it doesn't work that way. When we prepare, we'll know when to shut the slides off and just come out and talk. But it was shortly after that, the CEO tapped me on the shoulder and said, I want you to apply to be junior vice commander. He chose me as I want you to apply. Like, I'm not even ready. I've still got 2 or 3 steps of leadership to go through to get there. He says, I want you to apply. You see that? I found out as a division director, I had someone come to me, I want you to try. I think you'll do great. You want to be club growth director? I had someone come to me and say, I think you should put your name in the hat. I think you'll do great. All the way up until program quality director. Number 2 in the trio. I went to that convention ready to put on my promotion. I was still club growth, getting ready to give vote in the next one. Boom, from out of left field, someone comes from the floor to challenge me. Pow! That was a smack in the face too. I wasn't ready. I didn't see that coming. No one told me. But I'll tell you one thing, I developed more skills from an area director and a 1 year's division director with that break in between, where I have a confidence to speak, to compete, to challenge anyone that's in the way of my goal. I had no doubt I was going to get elected, but just getting blindsided. Thankfully, I was prepared. I knew what I stood for. I knew what I could bring to the district. I knew how I can help mentor other people. But I was caught off guard. And I'm sure most of you have been caught off guard. Maybe you lost that promotion that you thought you're going to get. Maybe you lost your job altogether, or a relationship broke up, or the house fell through. We often don't always get things we want, at least in our time. It's God's time, it's someone else's time. It's when we're ready is usually when those opportunities come back. You know, this is supposed to be all about Toastmasters, but no, this is about what's inside of here and why we're members anyways. Toastmasters is a medium, an avenue to get us to where we want to get in life. If you want to do 50 years in Toastmasters, God bless you. I hope I can still be around in 50 years. And hopefully I will, because I still love what I do. Obviously, Toastmasters afforded me the opportunity to wear a lot of different hats, right? I'm sure you see some of my hats throughout the years, and I love it because it's not only helped me get Toastmasters hats, but hats in the different organizations I'm involved in. And we need to consider how we can help other people put different hats on too. Now, when we're members on our clubs, let's be realistic, between 10 to 20 people in those clubs. They're pretty small, usually our meetings are, and we have to learn how to lead as a Toastmaster each and every meeting. What we're going to do to fill those roles and make it fun. We've all been to fun clubs, and we've all been to not so many fun clubs, I'm sure. There is a big difference. And guess what? Toastmasters, Disabled American Veterans, the American Legion, the Rotary Club, all has the same problems. We all want more members, right? Let's do what it is. So what's different from us than the other organizations? We all need more members. How do we bring more members in? Is it really that of a challenge? Sure, we've all invited 20 and 30 people, and lucky to get 2 to sign up and 1 to sign up for real, right? And stay with it. We've all been there. So we lose our momentum. And we don't need to lose our momentum. Going back up through the Junior Vice Commander Disabled American Veterans. Now, our district leadership, and Clarice could correct me, but we have between 2,500 to 3,000 members in our district. And that varies. A lot of us belong to 2 or 3 clubs, and we got people from other districts. It changes each and every day.
It's
In
probably
my new organization, I'm going to have 70,000 people that I'm going to be overlooking, veterans. But you know, that's a small amount of people because we have 1.4 million veterans in the state of California, and we only got 70,000 of them in our organization. So we have a long way to go to share the word and spread the wealth and explain in that 60-second elevator pitch what we do, what do we stand for. Now we need to learn how to do that better, regardless of what we're doing, because we're all Toastmasters, but Clarice started her own business. She lost a job, she had to start a business. Berkey has a speaking club. Vivian's doing so. Vanessa's working for Department of Defense. Maria, every time I talk to Maria Azevedo, boy, it's a different story. She's a lot of fun to talk with. And Twyla, when Twyla says, come, I got something for you. Me and Vanessa drove 3 hours the other day just to meet up with her because she said, I got something for you. Do you understand what we have here? And Elizabeth too went to what 2 or 3 hours of Bakersfield about 6 months ago. And she brought this huge harp with her. I never seen a harp in the flesh, huge harp. And I want to help her carry it. Like, no, not this, like that. Don't touch it. Wow. Look at the quality of people we have here. That's right, Oleg, you cry. He's not allowed to touch it either, and that's her husband. The caliber of people we have in this organization, yet we're afraid to share it. Sure, I did a good job of program quality director. I love what I did. I love district directorship. It took me 6 months to realize I was no longer the district director. I still call Clarice every other day. It's crazy. And me, a past district director, what a feeling. Did my responsibilities change? Sure. Did my workload change? No. It got even busier because I've been asked to do other things within the district that I love to do and I would gladly do again. How do we build up members that want to take our places? What is our next move? What can we do to make next year better than this year? Sure, I know, sign up and stay in Toastmasters. Here's what I'm going to challenge you. We already have our division directors elected for this coming year. We already have our trio elected for this coming year. And I think Debbie has pretty good in place if she wants to point to different positions. Where we falling short, and we still need some area directors. Don't get me wrong, there's still a couple divisions that can use an extra area director or two that's ready for the job. But our clubs, I know we're only on the president has to change each and every year, but you and I both know that doesn't always happen. Come on, let's be honest. We do change all the rules on paper, but are we changing the responsibilities? We're supposed to be. And if you were president before, so I've been there, done that, I don't want to do it again. I can understand, I can relate. But outside of that, have you been a sergeant at arms for the last 10 years? What about membership? Membership stuff. Well, we know membership belongs to all the officers of the club. A lot of us have done these jobs and we get either complacent by doing it over and over again and don't even attend the trainings, or I've been there, I know how to do it, even though things change a little bit. I'm telling you to get out there and take these rules seriously. If you're the treasurer of the club, take the Whips at 199 and every year, make sure it gets on time, because you could lose your nonprofit status. You could lose your club. We, from what I see, I'm as guilty as others, don't always take things seriously or work as hard as that we're supposed to. In my South County Presenters Club, I had someone as their secretary for the first time. And she did a great job and took notes of everything he said and she said, a little bit overload. I had to, slow her down and say, we don't have to take notes of everything. But she would give a report at the end of the meeting and let us know how things were going. A little bit much? Sure. Was she wrong? Not at all. Did above and beyond what most of our secretaries do. Right? Sure she did. How many of our presidents are the face of the club, or they always let someone else go tell the meetings? Put in the chat box, what is your favorite club officer position? What are some of your favorite positions? I know it's Chuck Hooper, president. He doesn't like to do anything else. Well, what else do we like to do? VPE, VPR. Look at that. Really? Wow. I'm a VPE. You know, my favorite position is? My favorite position is PR. If we're not bragging on our club, bragging on our members, bragging on what we stand for, and that's all PR is. It's not bragging in a bad way. It's telling the world, hey, look what we're doing. This is pretty exciting. That to me is even more challenging and more rewarding of even being a president. A VP is tough. VP, you have to keep on top of your game. But once you got that down, once we figured out our boot camp, it gets a little bit easier, right? I understand. I'm a VP. I'm a treasurer right now. I'm a president of a club. Don't ask me how many clubs I belong to, because quite frankly, it's too many. Only you know what you're comfortable with. 5 clubs, 6 clubs, 10 clubs. Only you know what you're comfortable with. And that's okay. I'm not going to tell you how many clubs I belong in. I belong to too many. I'm going to slowly cut back. But when we start coaching clubs, we tend to join them to help build up their numbers, help get them more motivated, getting things going on. We charter clubs, we tend to stay in there for a while. Totally understand that. And God willing, by the end of this month, I'll have help charter my 4th club. And that's a big deal to me, because it's our first veterans focused club. And what I tell you, what I'm focused on, veterans, leadership, building self-confidence, education, helping people find a new purpose in their lives. And I think that's what I found in this organization and others. Once we lose our jobs, once we lose a loved one, once COVID hit, when we lost too many members in our club, sometimes we lose our focus of what our purpose is or what it should be. And that could change over time. Obviously, when you're 20 years old, your purpose is, well, hit the lottery, win $1 million and live happily ever after, right? And after 20 years of trying, you have to change it a little bit. But you know where I'm going with this. We need a purpose. And how can we mentor, coach, or guide someone else to do something we want them to do if we haven't been there ourselves, and we haven't been coached or mentored or led ourselves to be there? right? I mean, I guess that's what this hat comes involved. Have to be the captain of your ship. Have to be the captain and lead. Once we're coached, once we learn something about VPE, then we need to go and do a speech about it in a seminar and have a little council meeting, have a panel discussion, and show what VP is really all about. It's not just boot camp and proving people for the educational level. What does that mean when you finish a path? How many years finish more than 2 paths? Well, I think I just started my 6th path. Obviously, when you belong to a lot of clubs, that's easier to do than other times. But we could do some of the paths over again. But why not challenge yourself and do something different? I've never done presentation mastery, and they say that's the one most people start with. I haven't done it, not interested in it. And I present all the time. In fact, pre-COVID, I was getting paid to do presentations all over California. And I was getting paid pretty well. And it's because of what I learned in this organization, not just to give me the confidence, but taught me how to research and prepare, even for the unexpected. I once did a presentation, 45 minutes in front of 150 people, and they asked me what I need in advance. I said, well, I think I need a computer and a projector so I can do my slides. No problem, we'll have it for you. That's a great idea, easy thing to have, right? And I was smart. I learned how to buy a clicker later on, so you click to the slides. So I brought my clicker with me just in case, didn't have one. I got there probably about 15 minutes prior to my presentation. There was no computer, there was no projector, and I had 45 minutes of material to give out. That's when you figure out what you're made of and what's your purpose. And do we need a crutch of slides? Do we need a crutch of a gavel? Maybe we do, but we all need something that stands out where people know who we are, kind of our brand. But is it a crutch or is it really branding who you are? Another time I was asked to speak for a Rotary Club, and it was around the holidays. And being a psychologist myself, PhD in psychology and being in the military, during the holidays, what are the first things we usually think about? We think about depression, we think about PTSD, right? I do, at least I do, because it affects me everyday life. So here I am getting ready to speak in front of maybe only 30 people, 30, 35 people. And as I'm just walking up to the front of everyone to speak, this guy kind of nudged me and said, hope to say one of those PTSD briefings. Wow. Talk about a gut punch. About, a kick in the face. Those things hurt. So what do you do when someone tells you, hope you don't talk about this, or you go somewhere, they don't have the tools they said they're going to have for you, or something else like that. And if you're prepared well enough, those things don't matter. If you're prepared well enough, you don't need a computer. And even if you're talking about something depressing like depression, you can still make it interactive and show a little bit of empathy and even a little humor from time to time. Not laughing that someone did this or someone did that or suffering in some other way, and not necessarily making light of any situation. That's when you got to laugh at yourself. When you learn to laugh at yourself, then you can laugh at everyone else, because it doesn't matter how they feel about you. You just know how to. It's very interesting where we go in our life, and we need to seek out new leaders. But it's so important right now that we fill those club officer roles, even if you've done it before. And if we have to step up and do it year after year after year, we're really not taking our training seriously. We're really not taking the mentorship program that we should have in every club seriously. Because we're not developing people, we're not creating leaders, we're not seeking leadership. And I understand if your club has 8 to 10 members, it is what it is. So at least make your club role interesting. At least make it interesting. You can do a finance report or a secretarial report at every other meeting or something else. And we always like to do an educational moment in my club or our VPE. And I stopped making it just our VP give an educational moment. That is a role that anyone can sign up for. If you want to talk 5 minutes about the Ukraine, go for it. You want to talk about Mongolia and the favorite foods over there, go for it. You want to tell us why gas prices are so high, go for it. Those are educational moments. It's not all about Toastmasters, and it's not all about you or me. It's about what's best for our members. And we can sit back and say, wow, I didn't know that. And I have members from Mongolia. I have members from Japan and Korea and the Philippines and so many other places in my club, Singapore. In fact, last week I was a guest Toastmaster for a club that is in Singapore or Malaysia. Oh no, it's Singapore. And we went to India. And the VP, of course, our guest speaker was Deepak Menon that day. And that was a great time. I know Twyla was there, Vanessa, and that was always a great time. And someone asked you to come, will you be the Toastmaster here? You'll be a special guest speaker. Will you be an evaluator? You know how I bring members to my club is I visit those and I say, wow, that was a great speech. I'd love you to give that speech at my club sometime. Or wow, that speech about evaluations. Hey, can you come next Tuesday morning and talk to our people, or better yet, give an evaluation? That's how I bring guests, by visiting someone, inviting to mine. Now, let's be real. We can't invite the same people over and over again. I don't know how many times I invited Jackie or Pete or Vanessa and Twyla to come to my meetings to kind of bail me out of a jam. Sure, we do those kind of things also. And that's okay. Just don't overstay your welcome or over-invite people over and over again. And if you keep inviting them and then they want to invite you, you better get out of your way to step up your game and show them what you're made of and how you can do what you can do. So obviously I made up to the trio, and now I'm going to start my next trio level, as we just talked about with the disabled American veterans. Well, I wear a different cap, right? Department of California, you can see that or not, and junior vice commander. Is that a big deal? Kind of. 70,000 members. And my goal is membership. I mean, at your bottom level, you're always bringing in new members. You're doing fundraiser, right? So same as Toastmasters, why can't we bring in just one more? Why can't each one of us just bring in one more? Can we? Sure, we bring in one more than two quit. So we need to bring in 4 more. At least 2 will stay, right? Does it really matter to semantics? We can all bring in 1 more. Let's just say 1 more every 6 months. That's 2 people a year. We're introducing them to one of the best opportunities out there in the world to make them a better leaders, better communicators, better people in the society. I love what we do. I am not out of Toastmasters, but I had to step back a little bit from different leadership roles here so I can focus in a different organization and give it all I got from what I learned here. We still got people in the DAV, and a lot of veteran organizations don't know how to use Zoom. Believe it or not, people don't know how to use Zoom. What are they thinking? There's nothing better out there. But we got to be prepared for the transitions in our life. You know, I have this beautiful gavel, and I like I wear a lot of different hats. Sometimes you have to transition to a bigger gavel, right, Clarice? A bigger gavel. It's not to say, hey, look at me, I'm all lit. It's to say, I made it. What's the next challenge? What else do you have out there for me? We all have the goods. In fact, when you're a Toastmaster for a while, you get a little swagger, right? You get the little shake. And we got the little shake, the little swagger, a little bit of confidence. People will notice. And when they notice, they're going to potentially give you different opportunities out there that maybe you didn't know were out there for yourself. I've had so many doors open up I never saw before. And it's all due to this organization. Sure, I got a PhD. Okay, that is a big deal. I don't want to downsize that anyways, besides my MBA and the other educational levels I have. Sure, I have a few DTMs. Okay, don't stop there. If you got your one DTM, been there, done that, don't need to do it again. Yeah, probably don't. You don't need to, we all don't need to start new clubs every year. And quite frankly, it's difficult to start a club. Or is it more difficult to keep a club dying alive? You have to figure out what's best for you and how you can best share your knowledge with the rest of the world. Here's what I want to do. Tomorrow's Monday. I believe tomorrow's Monday. And we're all starting meetings up this week. One of your many clubs you belong to, if there's a club officer position open, I don't know if you had elections yet or not, volunteer, or better yet, okay, you're the VP, I'll be your mentor for VP this year. You'll be the secretary, I'll be your mentor for secretary this year. Whatever it is, we are still needed, but we don't have to do it all. We shouldn't do it all. But I'm so proud where Toastmasters has brought me. And I know it's brought all you different places. A lot of you come to get more out of Toastmasters series over the last several months. And I really appreciate your help and your support for me over the last several years and years to come. I know that's going to happen. But before I let everyone go, I just thank you for everything. And please continue with your input at the district because we need you. Sure, we have a lot on our plate at district level leadership, and that's area director on up. But we need you. We need your input. And if you got to write it down so we don't forget, please write it down, put an email, because we may forget. It happens. I mean, that's okay. We are in a forgiving environment where everybody supports each other. And the clubs that stay strong are the ones that support each other outside the club also. Really, that's the way it is. But I want to open up to any questions here before I close out. So what do you got out there for me? Feel free to unmute. All right, Elizabeth.
So I noticed a great speech. No, first of all, Dr. Skoda, I wanted to ask in one of the clubs I'm with, there are some old timers, and I noticed that, like you said, the swagger is there, and they are very comfortable. But there is something, I'm not even sure what to call it, but I think they're kind of resting on their laurels a little bit and maybe getting a little too comfortable, even though they're doing the right things. That level of that nervous energy that kind of takes you over is no longer there. And I'm wondering, how do you deal with that?
I ran into something similar a few years ago when they asked me to be the next American Legion commander in Santa Maria. I showed up for one meeting, and the next meeting they elected me the president because they just didn't like the other guy. I wasn't better or smarter, just didn't like his attitude. They seemed to like me. And even though everyone support, we want new blood, we want changes, please help us make it better. The old timers, the seniors didn't want change. They said they did. Well, I go in and say, I want to do this, and they'll come out and like, oh, we don't do that. We don't do that here. Or I'll say, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea if we open the, I don't know, the lounge a little bit earlier, or stay open a little bit later? It says, oh no, everybody, we just don't do that. We have enough help. How do we get people motivated again? What I see, stop asking them. Go out and build your club with or without them, and lead by example. We lead by example. We bring in those 2 extra members. Maybe you got 2 people who are all excited all the time. So you 2 people bring in 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and change the atmosphere of the club. My South County Presenters Club is not the same club pre-pandemic by any means. 2 of us. We had 4 members before then. Now we have like 4 members. We had to change the mindset. A lot of people just unfortunately had to walk away. And some came back later and some joined other clubs later. But we can't let those 1 or 2 people drag us down. Now, don't get me wrong, we have no right to walk into a club as a newbie and change everything. That's a real good way of not to be liked for sure. but there's no reason you can't slowly bring in people and change the mindset. If you're not getting along with those people, do it without them. And I think that works for me, works pretty good. And I appreciate that question. Thank you. Vivian, what do you have for us, Vivian?
Yes, my age is gonna be showing Dr. Joseph Skoda. I miss the good old days when there was no cell phone, no laptop, and you'll realize how old I am. No desktop, right? None of these gadgets.
Sure.
People knew how to have human conversations. And now it breaks my heart that when I talk about PR, I talk about public relations, meaning public as in people, relations as in relate, because what many PRs have told me, because I give talks to clubs around the world, they just say, oh, just email me. I'm like, I'm here in Zoom. I'm talking to you and you want to email. The last thing I heard was Toastmasters was about public speaking, not public emailing. What happened to humanity? Or am I a dinosaur? Come on, give me a break.
Thank you so much for that. You know, that's a good point. Just like a meeting in person, the good clubs that still socialize 10, 20, 30, 60 minutes later after the meeting's over, stay together, they're close, they're supportive. Unfortunately, it's the same with Zoom. If you have a 1 hour meeting from 7 to 8, at 8:01, you're shutting the Zoom down, you're missing out on that social interaction. If you happen to be in charge of the Zoom account or Sergeant Arms and you have to shut off at 8 o'clock, make someone else the host and let them run with it in another 30 minutes. It's so important that we have an interaction after the meeting, before the meeting, not during the meeting. We all need to mute ourselves so we can have a productive meeting, but before and after. I totally agree with you. We don't have that. I like email. Send me an email and I'll get back to you later because I'm a pretty busy person. But if I have time on Zoom, talk to me. Go on Facebook and video chat with me. I have no problems with that. And I agree with you. But for me, people will call and leave a message. I don't get back to it for sometimes a couple of days. I want to text, say, check your email, check your voicemail. Then I know you're serious. Because there's so much spam out there. I don't check it if I don't recognize the number. So how do we fix that? We need to find out how people want communication from us. Is it text? Is it email? Is it Zoom? Is it a letter? And quite frankly, they all work to the right person. So find out how they want to best communicate with us. But seriously, keep your Zoom account open another 15 or 20 minutes after the meeting, and that'll help people interact just a little bit longer. Thank you, Vivian. I totally agree with you.
Thank you. And as I said, it's not a secret. I'm beginning to love you more and more. I just met you today. My goodness.
Who? I want that in writing in the email so I can save it.
Will do.
Thank you. Twyla, one of my favorite Toastmasters. What do you have for us? For me?
Well, we're talking about the old timers resting on their laurels. Sometimes we have to be careful that we don't say, oh, I don't want to ask Twyla. She's done so much. She's already so busy, so we won't ask her. Because, I've been in 28 years. But then they'll say, well, she's done everything. We really don't want to ask Twyla. So I don't have a job. I don't have to show up. I don't have to be there. So pretty soon I might miss a meeting. And then pretty soon I miss another meeting. And pretty soon I'm not a member anymore because I don't have an interest in what the club is doing because I've been excluded. So be careful with your older members that you don't give them rest when they need to be busy. Sometimes the seniors need to be busier than the young ones. So I'm saying that side of it. So don't give me any more jobs. I have enough already. But that's just one opinion where I have seen some of our older members feel like they're no longer valuable, that their wisdom is no longer needed. And so we lose them. So find a job, maybe not the president, but make up a job, maybe make them counselor to somebody or other, or mentor to somebody or other, or in charge of something or other. Give them a job so they feel like they're wanted.
Thank you so much for that, Twyla. I think that's so important. You know, I was afraid. Okay, me past district director now, 3 weeks from now, I'm just a Toastmaster, right? Just a Toastmaster, which is fine. But when you reach there, you're afraid, will they forget about you? Or do you still matter? Do you have a purpose? Are we bringing in too many younger people too fast where there's no longer a position for me? And we had somebody retire here fairly recently because sometimes people quit because they feel they're no longer needed or wanted or they don't have a purpose. Absolutely, they do. Or someone younger will come in and push them around. And that's us as leaders say, hold on, time out. We're not playing that game here. Twyla's been around a while and we have a lot to learn from her. And I ask Twyla often, hey, will you come speak here? Will you evaluate there? Can you help me out with this project? We do those things a lot, and it's so important. Chuck, when I first started this series of Let's Get More Out Toastmasters, Chuck's that guy. We'll have an hour meeting. Hour and a half later, I'm trying to get him off the meeting. He's just talking with ideas and suggestions. And I remember being late for a meeting one time. He called me, where are you? What's going on? Did you cancel? We need that accountability with each other, because we get complacent. And I totally agree with you. Everyone here has something to give. Right now, I'm asking you to give your email address so we can follow up with each other when this is over. We all have something to share. My goodness, I have to respect. What are our 4 core values? Integrity, service, excellent, and that, well, whatever, 4, respect. When do we lose that respect for each other? Come on, I know a lot of things, and my head can be a little big sometimes. And every now and then I get a kick in the gut. I have to humble myself. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. People are still tugging my collar, say, hey, will you step up in this leadership role, or will you coach me there? I've earned some money coaching people. I've earned some money instructing and motivating people in other areas because of this organization. I want to move up and not just in the DAV, but I have some other things in the back of my mind. I hope to get going off in the near future. But Toastmasters brought together for me. I did 21 years in the Air Force. I have 5 college degrees. And then I discovered Toastmasters. Why do we have so many doctors and lawyers and professionals in this group right now? Because we're still growing, each and every one of us. And we still have people here we can network, we can have that accountability with, and we can challenge each other to the next level. Please step up and wherever you're needed. But hey, if you need a break, that's okay. Hey, I need a break. Call me in a couple weeks. Call me in a couple months. Call me. They say a couple months. You might want to call me in a couple weeks. Make sure you're still there. And don't forget that, because a lot of us have been sick the last year. So a lot of us are getting up there in age. A lot of us are getting disenchanted, not just with this organization, but other things in our life. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone or even a text. How you doing, Twyla? You know, you won't get the real answer on a text or a chat. Of course you won't. You're only going to get that from a phone call or in person. But that's a darn good start, isn't it? Is that hard? Hey, Carol. I'm glad you joined us again today. I see you each and every month. I don't know what to do, but I'm glad you joined us again. Is that hard? Nah, not really. What do we have, 1 DTM or 10 DTMs or no DTMs? Are we still growing? Are we still learning? Are we still making a difference in this world? Yeah, I think we are. Any other questions before I shut this down?
Joe?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, being a veteran myself, I want to thank you and Vanessa for your service. And with the D-Day anniversary tomorrow, I really like your tie-in with Toastmasters and the vets. That's a real important combination. Good job, young man.
I appreciate that. And anyone who calls me young, you're a friend for life. But you know, when we're looking for speakers in any organization, whether it's a club meeting or something like this, we're looking for someone who has that wow factor. And for most of my trio time in the top three, I always search for that wow factor. You're a Toastmaster, what's my wow factor? I personally know 6 people in District 33 that got huge promotions in the last year. Huge promotions. Not everyone, but those did. And some, they were doing everything in Toastmasters, and then they had to step back a little bit because of their jobs. I was able to start, well, I'm a business partner, like kind of a little social media network in Vegas because I was found and I was recommended and opportunity arose. So I have things going on there. There is always something if we keep our mind out there and ask for it. And we have to continuously persevere. We're resilient, right? We made it this far, and we're going to make it another year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. And how do we make a difference in our community? I've been in the color guard for almost 8 or 9 years, and we had like 4 ceremonies on Memorial Day. Don't ask me to do something on Memorial Day. It's all veterans. Veterans Day, it's all veterans. But any other time, if I'm available, call me. Because if I give up speaking like this, I'll lose it. We all can do 5 to 7 minutes in our sleep. When's the last time you spoke for 20, 30, 60 minutes? Find an avenue to do that and do it continuously. I don't do this often enough. My next job, I want to be an accredited speaker one day. I want to be an accredited speaker. I applied last year and didn't quite make the cut. And then the paying gigs kind of disappeared. So it's going to be a little bit while before I can get in the game again. But I'm in the game. I might have a setback. I may have a distraction, an obstacle in the way, but I'm in the game, just a little bit slower right now. But yes, Vanessa, what do you have?
I was noticing the chat, and what I really like to comment on is that it appears that many people on this forum got a lot out of the series. That said, many people on this forum were part of the series, and I think that you should, or whoever's going to continue the series, use the people that are on this stage, because I believe that from top to bottom, as I'm looking at them, and even the ones that I don't know, I think that they would make great speakers and have something to offer Toastmasters. So I'd like to see that continue, because I got so much out of the series and having heard what the guest speakers had to say. I think you should carry that on as a tradition, or whoever's going to do it, it should continue. It's well worth the time.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. In fact, I need to take off this jacket here, and I'll be just show off my other organization, DAV, Disabled American Veterans. If you do a podcast, if you write a blog, if you just want to get the word out about what you're doing inside, outside of Toastmasters, let's talk. We need to continuously work on our wow factor. We can do HBL projects all day long. I have a big Flag Day event coming up on June 14th. Elizabeth's got a big event coming on a week after that. Whether we're working toward a DTM or not, there's always a place to work on something to make us just a little bit better. And gladly, we can look for workers all the time. Whatever you do, continuously keep working on your game. Look for the transitions and make sure you're at the top of your game. Right, Clarice? Right, but you know why? Because Toastmasters rock, right, Clarice?
Yes, Toastmaster rocks, and you are a wonderful, inspiring, motivating, energetic, happy-go-lucky man of many hats. Joseph.
I want that already too. I want that already too. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to shut off the recording. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes, but thank you all for showing up, and make sure you join us each and every month, because the district puts on a lot of training, a lot of special guests, a lot of wow factor opportunities for all of us. Get involved with training. If we don't show up for club officer training because we've been there so many times, how can we convince or encourage others to do so? Begins right here. It begins right here. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Great job, Joseph.
Thank you, Chuck.
Outstanding,
Great job.
Joseph. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Toastmasters rock.